Hey guys, thank you for joining us here at Georgia Perimeter Homes. Today we're going to be talking about what is a buyer's market. The opposite of that is a seller's market, and if you haven't seen that video, check it out. Go down to our channel and there's a separate video on that by itself. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is going to be high inventory. So high inventory simply means that there's a lot of homes on the market, or higher than normal on the market. Normal meaning just average. And so that means that there are more homes on the market than there are buyers looking to buy those homes. So it's a demand versus inventory question. And we'll get into that a little bit later as well. So there's a lot of homes on the market, less buyers on the market, which means those same buyers get to pretty much have their choice and pick and choose between a lot of different houses and typically get better terms when they're buying. So the second point to that is buyers typically have a better ability or a higher ability to obtain a loan. If you don't know what I'm referring to, is think back to the housing crisis of 2006, 7, and 8, where buyers could pretty much get a loan for any house they wanted to, and that led to a big problem. So when a buyer has more ability to obtain a loan through financing, typically more buyers are on the market. But it's not always the case, but in some cases buyers have better ability to get loans. So the next thing, the buyer definitely gets better terms in that kind of a market. Now it just depends on the type of home, the location, to how many buyers are drawn to the same house, obviously. In my mind, there's really two types of terms that we're talking about. One's going to be the contract terms. You know, when do I close? When do I get possession of my house at that point? Also, you know, my price, what I'm willing to pay for it versus how much of that money is coming back to me in seller contributions to help me save money at closing. And then there's some unusual terms as well. When you're in a really die-hard and strong buyer's market, I mean, you might get asked for money to help update the home, like money for countertops, for new countertops, money for a painting allowance or a flooring allowance for the home. So there's some creative things that you could have in there if you're in a buyer's market. And so lastly, the home values, you know, really they'll go up or down during the buyer's market. They're not always directly affected by whether it's a buyer's or seller's market. You know, that's the one thing I love about real estate. Traditionally, it always goes up. When we were briefly discussing the home crisis of 6, 7, and 8, that's a good situation where it did go down for sure. Which leads us to our last point, which is really what we were talking about at the beginning. Demand versus inventory. This is always what drives whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. And so typically, obviously, in a buyer's market, demand is going to be lower and inventory would be higher. And so that's what creates that. And so just depending on where you live, what state you live in, and what area, you know, it might swing back and forth. And so, you know, sometimes we see that today, where you might be in a really good situation for 7 days, and all of a sudden for the following 7 days or 2 weeks, you might have a situation where everyone's bidding against each other. It might be back to a seller's market. And it doesn't normally swing that way. So a buyer's market, if we're talking about a true buyer's market, it typically lasts a couple quarters and then it swings back to a seller's market. So that's historically what we're talking about when we talk about a buyer or a seller's market. So that's it, you guys, for today's lesson. And if you have any questions, concerns, or need any help with real estate in any way, shape, or form, look down below at the description and reach out to us. Our number is 770-314-1285, or check out our website at www.georgiaperimeterhomes.com.